Part 5. Satan in the world. There were three angels in heaven. Satan is known as an angel who disobeyed God, for which he was cast down from heaven to earth. So where is located Satan now? What is he like? Once upon a time, in childhood, children used to tell stories about various fears that supposedly came from that creature. Now no one is afraid of anything. So where did Satan disappear? I'll try to explain. Everyone wants to be happy. The signal of joy that comes from the depths of the body, from the soul, gives a feeling of happiness. They arise as a result of the action of certain substances that are formed in the human organs. The better the organ feels, the more of these substances are produced in the organ, the more signals of joy or happiness enter the central nervous system. In addition to this pathway, there are two other pathways of action of joy signals. Similar substances are also produced in the sensory organs under the influence of external stimuli. The more the sensory organs receive certain stimuli, the more signals of joy are sent to the nervous center. The same signals are produced in the nervous mechanism itself, where memory, recollections, and feelings can act as stimuli. This is a special mechanism for generation signals of joy. All three sources of joy and happiness cause an accumulation of psychological energy in the nervous centers, the surplus of which must be released. During the release of this energy, the organs through which it comes out receive a high degree of excitation, which send out additional streams of joy and happiness. A complex mechanism of creating a feeling of joy and happiness appears. It's sometimes called ecstasy, enlightenment, bliss. During such a state, some organs acquire extraordinary capabilities. Such feeling of ecstasy, enlightenment, bliss appear during love, concert, parties, sport competitions, religious ceremonies, and many other occasions, and do not entail harmful consequences except perhaps ordinary fatigue. There is a peculiar psychological center in a person, which is called the ego. The ego uses only its own experience. It easily remembers the joy that the soul sends it. The ego gets pleasure from this. The mechanism of the ego perceives and remembers such a state and requires its regular repetition. This state of feeling happiness under the influence of stimuli, the level of which does not exceed the maximum necessary, does not leave harmful consequences. If the soul sends signals of pain, the ego does not remember them, but simply shows dissatisfaction at such moments. But there is also a great flaw and a harmful side in the ego. The ego mechanism has the same quality of remembering well the level of joy that is obtained from an excessive level of stimuli that have a harmful effect on the human organs. This psychological center of the ego easily assimilates and remembers excessive signals of joy that arise from excesses. Psychological dependence arises. Such harmful factors can be excessive in nutrition, excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, taking doses of narcotic substances, the extortion of previously experienced psychological spectacles, immeasurable passion for many even useful things, and is in some other cases. There is a certain threshold of separate types of harmful stimuli that cause the ego to become accustomed to excesses, resulting in a harmful psychological dependence. The threshold of harmful addictions is usually not overcome by a person himself. The acquisition of harmful habits, the formation of harmful psychological dependencies do not come by themselves. These harmful psychological dependencies arise under the influence of environment. This is facilitated by the presence of mass such phenomena in society, the example of elders, or persons who use feigned authority, mental coercion, or ordinary violence. Existing society, most existing cultures are currently infected with this trouble, and they will never be able to overcome them without revising their spiritual values. The acquisitions of such psychological addiction by a person himself occurs very rarely and only in the absence of normal living conditions. This is where Satan has crept into harmful psychological addictions. It is located in the harmfully developed psychological centers of the ego of some people. Satan and is the harmfully developed ego of man. You see how deeply Satan hides, but he cannot get there so easily. Satan is helped to push there by his assistants. The harmful side of the ego, which accumulates excesses, can be formed from the very beginning only under the action external harmful mental influences or violence. A harmfully developed ego can be viewed as a kind of monster that grows in a person's psychological apparatus. It can be called an enemy, an evil, a satanic force, etc. The harmful ego grows all the time throughout life if you do not constantly fight against it. All the evil in the world that comes from a person is ultimately a consequence of the action of such ego centers. Deception, wars, genocide, terrorism, crimes, drug addictions are all a consequence of the action of Satan, who acts through the ego of people and then through the people themselves. Other problems also face humanity. a sharp increase in population and environment pollution, insufficient amount of nutritious food, clean drinking water, energy resources. More and more garbage is accumulating. Natural disasters and increasingly complex diseases constantly haunt humanity. The struggle between ideological trends and cultures sometimes becomes extremists. Not all of these problems are the result of the harmful ego and Satan, but Satan is happy to sit on these problems and prevent them from being solved. There is a lot of talk about wars, terrorism, the Holocaust, genocide, crime, but no one can say how to prevent this either now or in the future, because until now there have been no theoretical works that could suggest effective ways to eliminate this phenomena. The adoption of new, more stringent articles of the criminal codes is insufficient and ineffective. The free world will never completely overcome terrorism, crime, violation of contracts, the great gap between rich and poor, deception, and low moral value in families. The reason for this is the lack of implementation of the laws I have described and solidary responsibility, that is, simplified responsibility for each other. There, everyone is responsible for themselves. Solution to these problems will be presented in the next block. Thank you for your attention to my fifth block about religion. More to come.